You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Rolinson. I'm joined this morning by James Rushton on, I think it's a Boxing Day bank holiday. It's Monday the 27th. I don't really know what day it is. My voice is croaky, my nose is running. I'm waiting on the results of a lateral flow test because I've got my booster jab today as well. So it's all going off. But I'm okay. James, how are you?
All good. Same position as you. Feeling a bit ill. Couldn't go to the Villa game yesterday because I was feeling a bit under the weather. But yeah, I'm okay apart from that and the Villa match.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that Villa match then. That's what we're here for. We're only here for the next 15 minutes or so. It's our post-match debrief because we didn't do one last night and I'm still technically off work. I think you are as well. So consider this a bonus episode with everything that's going on. 3-1 defeat for Villa last night on Boxing Day. And in the first half, I came away thinking, you know what, we're well in this game. We went 1-0 up. Silly penalty to go away, but you know we can get at Chelsea again in the second half and maybe come away with something here. And second half display, I couldn't really tell you what happened, to be honest. Just nothingness in the second half, really. Chelsea a lot better and take home the 3 points.
I think one of the biggest differences there, mate, is Lukaku. The second he comes on, it's a game changer, and you see the difference elite strikers make. You see it against Chelsea time and time again. I mean, there's a difference in quality between Olivier Giroud, Tammy Abraham, and Romelu Lukaku. But whenever Chelsea have these strikers, they seem to make a bit of a difference against Villa. I think Giroud in the Project Restart scoring a pretty good finish in an area where you thought he might not have that. Lukaku, amazing yesterday. And I'm not sure whether to blame what happened to Villa on the defenders against him or actually him, because I think that separates your average strikers, right? That they're capable of doing stuff like that. The movement from Lukaku against Mings, storming to win the penalty at the end. I mean, poor change from Konza, but if you recap it, what else can he do? He's done. Like, he's cooked. Like, he has to go to ground, mate. There's like, he can barge him. He can do. There's little he can do apart from go to ground. He knows. But then you may as well let him take the shot there and hope Martinez can deal with it, because he ain't saving a Jorginho penalty.
Just to jump in quickly, the two penalties, any complaints over the decisions themselves? No. Both definite penalties? Both
clear-cut as day. Defenders knew as well. Matty Cash knew. He didn't even see, did he? He just went in. Konza was a different, because it's just desperation, just to keep us in the game at the end. You have sympathy there. But in the second one, I'd probably just let him take the shot, stand him up and challenge him. But look, I'm not a defender. I'm very clearly from my body shape, not a Premier League defender. So I don't want to be sitting here insulting it. But Matty Cash is just probably the poorest one. The context of it, we were 1-0 up. It's too risky.
Just 1-0 up as well. That's the most annoying thing with that, to concede so soon afterwards is, I feel like the Steven Gerrard Villa has cut out kind of silliness like that in his tenure so far, and to see Cash kind of dive in. I've only seen it the once, a bit live at the stadium on the other end of the ground. I thought, there's enough kind of pace on that ball that if Cash kind of gets his body in the way, that ball goes out for a goal kick, and that's it. We move on to the next player, and that's that. I've not seen it back. Obviously, you've seen the replays on TV and stuff last night. But yeah, it was a clear penalty and a stupid thing from Cash to do, and that effectively, doesn't at the time, but that effectively kills the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're 1-0 up pretty accidentally. I mean, they deserved to. The play from all players was pretty good. It just lacked that final pass. But I think they were cursed a bit by going 1-0 up, because you could just see the panic in Matty Cash to kind of keep the result, and that's why it happens. And maybe, Villa's coaching staff are pretty good. Michael Beale, Gary McAllister, there's experience and progressiveness. Aaron Danks, Austin McPhee. These are the kind of people you want there, but it probably did lack Steven Gerrard for that calming touch, because his words, more so than the tactics set the base level, but it's his words and mentality. I think that can make the difference in these tough situations. You saw the way, against Man City, against Liverpool, there wasn't a collapse. There was always a sense that, we'll go behind and we'll kick on. I think the other way around, that's why we suffered. I mean, you always want to go up, don't you? But against the Chelsea, who have Lukaku on the bench, and you've got the ability to commit these rash mistakes and rash errors to give them away back into the game, it's a different challenge for Villa, isn't it? They're versus three title challengers, Dan. The difference is they go up ahead early and then there's a bit of panic, rather than they seem to want to be that team where the chips are down, they can find a way back in.
Yeah, I mean, again, it says all about how far Villa have come in recent weeks that we're disappointed against a defeat against Chelsea, and we feel like we could have got more. There's been a lot of talk about Chelsea being kind of this top three with Man City and Liverpool, and they probably are the third best team, but Liverpool and Man City are in a category of their own. Chelsea don't even come into that for me. That they're very good, yes, but you got Liverpool, Man City, then Chelsea, then everybody else. That isn't a top three for me. Chelsea just happened to be the third. Man City and Liverpool are ruthless in comparison. And I felt like we could still get at Chelsea again in that second half and come away with something. So to almost, I don't know, I want to say not show up in the second half, but I don't really remember anything in the second half of any note from Villa's end, to be honest. I don't know whether I'm just misremembering and it's late and it's early this morning and I've forgotten, but nothing happened for me.
No, in the first half, they couldn't connect a move. In the second half, they couldn't even kind of start the move to connect it. Yeah. It was I don't think the substitution, they were the right moves to make. I think all the players who came on were the right players to come on. But Chukwuemeka kind of grew into the game a bit late. Bertrand Traore grew into the game, but by the time they were looking like to make some damage, Al Ghazi as well, Lukaku was on the break and kind of give away a penalty. So I think it was just the way it worked out, the kind of where the chips fell. It didn't suit Villa at all, and they weren't able to make that move. There was a lot of kind of just that final touch of the final shot was lacking. They're really good at kind of in the first half. There's a few back heels and really these really quick combos that left Chelsea almost like hands in the air, flustered. They didn't always come off, and I think there was a chance that fell to Matty Cash, and if he just smashed it in the first half,
is that from the edge of the area?
Yeah, if he just hit it, you got a chance there. That chance doesn't even, it falls apart, doesn't it? So I think, look, 9 times out of 10, I want Villa to be the side with the tricky moves because they can do it. You saw yesterday, there's evidence there that it's just a little bit away from them pulling it off.
Yeah.
But they also need to take a snap at a chance when it's there. Chelsea did that. Yeah, Mason Mount missed an open goal, but that's how they do it. They take the chances. They take the chance that there. Villa didn't even have an open goal to miss that. They barely had many shots. At all. Yeah,
I kind of found myself sat there in the first half going, how many chances here? How many opportunities are we going to make and not kind of get anything out of? And I've not seen any of the stats back. I don't imagine any of those chances in my head were classed as clear-cut chances or proper goal-scoring opportunities. But, there's a couple of occasions where Douglas Luiz has played like an outside of the boot pass through to Watkins in between the fullback and the centre-half, and he stood on goal from kind of the right side and cuts in and has a shot from the edge of the area that kind of hits off the defender or straight at the keeper. I think that happened 2 or 3 times. Danny Ings also had a couple of occasions like that. And like I said, they don't go down as proper chances, but against Chelsea, when you're at home and 1-0 up at that stage or still at 0-0, you've got to work those into better opportunities to make the most of it because they don't come that often. And I felt like we were able to cut through Chelsea with some of those long passes from midfield. Douglas Luiz in particular, his passing last night was excellent.
Yeah,
that one I mentioned from the outside of the boot was lovely. And you score that chance, and then you get that lucky deflection for the goal from Target's cross as well, and suddenly you're 2-0 up because you've actually taken some of your chances, and it's a totally different result. Then that's disappointing, isn't it? And that's something that they've got to work on in the coming week. Decision making, composure in the final third. That's what's lacking, I think, from the forwards now.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't watch the match and you went on and saw 3-1 or 2-1 without the last penalty, or even 1-1 without both penalties, it's all if buts and maybes, as we say, Dan. We only deal in the absolutes, mate. But like when you look at it on paper, 3-1 against Chelsea probably isn't that bad. It's just the context that makes it hurt. In the first half, especially, it was there for the taking. We didn't need to. All the goals that we gave up. Well, 2 of them were in our gift to give up. It was 2 penalties that we gave them. One was in a desperate situation that we caused. We caused the turnover at the other end of the pitch that essentially was as good as giving away the penalty, Dan. So, yeah, it was. The context is different because we completely threw that away. The penalties, the second half, the first half chances. I say snap at a chance. I think I'm a bit wrong there because it's more so the decision making. When there's a chance to snap at, they don't take it. When there's a chance they can probably cut back, they snap at it. Especially when kind of Watkins or Ings gets it on the flank on the corner of the box and there's a really tough, like acute shooting ankle. And maybe, there isn't always people arriving into the box, and that's something Villa need to work on. And you do trust Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins, especially to finish a chance. But it just needs to be a bit better kind of decision making up front, because some of the moves we were making yesterday were putting Chelsea at risk of conceding 2-3. So, in the first half, the biggest pain is our lead lasted 5 minutes. That's bad. Like that's a minute amount of time, isn't it? At least have a half, at least have 30, 20 minutes, 10 even. 5 is just, you can't do that against Chelsea, because you can't give them ways back into the game, because especially, they start the game without Romelu Lukaku and other players. They got players who can shut down again. Kovacic on the bench. Yeah, they were forced into, a few defensive changes as well. But Lukaku comes on, game changer. He's a world-class striker.
Yeah.
And Chelsea have already found a way back into the game without him. Then it's on for the win, isn't it? And he's going to beat, like, Ezri Konsa and Tyrone Mings are great. He's going to beat them, because that's what he does. It's what he does across the world. You need to be stronger up front to give yourself a buffer and something to fight for.
We're kind of doing this in reverse order, which I don't know why. We should have put more plan into this. Let's talk about team news. 15 minutes into the episode. What were your kind of thoughts going into the game yesterday? Obviously, Boxing Day is always a nice game anyway, just because of the occasion and what time of year it is. But I spent myself all afternoon on my phone checking social media for whether the game was on or off, because there's still no confirmation. When it gets to 4:30 and the team news comes out, all this talk about COVID situation, is the game on? Is it off? Gerrard's got it. What does that mean? Who else is going to have it? I was half expecting this kind of decimated team, but it wasn't the side I was expecting. It was a lot stronger. I thought there'd be 3 or 4 maybe missing, and it kind of being on the verge of, why wasn't this called off? So team news, my opinion, far better than I anticipated.
The team obviously was good enough to probably get a point against Chelsea without John McGinn. We probably did lack John McGinn, to be fair, but I thought the midfield was okay. Morgan Sanson seemed to be everywhere.
I thought the midfield was right.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the problem, was it? The problem was the breakdown up front and at the back. Ramsey, it's just things didn't click. Like that was the main problem. I think John McGinn can help stuff click, because Morgan Sanson's just a relatively new insert into the teams, and he's been here for just under a year now. But in terms of the minutes he's played, he's barely featured. So he needs to gel into the team. Or I don't see how he can do that if John McGinn comes back, because that's John McGinn's position. But maybe someone like John McGinn who can connect well with the team. He's got the chemistry, he's got the energy, he's got the ability, and he's got the technique. Can be not the difference maker, but a catalyst to allow the difference maker to show up. He certainly will arrive late into the box, won't he? And have a punt from there. But yeah, I don't think the team news makes a difference, to be honest. And I think we were all right. I think the main thing was probably the disruption caused by COVID in the first place, and the lack of a major. Those might have disrupted pre-game analysis, training, stuff like that.
Let's talk about a couple of individual players then before we go. Let's talk about the Ings-Watkins partnership, I guess. They played in the same side. How do you think they got on? And also Buendia almost in that little triangle, I guess.
I don't know if it was a tactical decision, but it seemed like they fell into a trap of falling really, really deep as well. Like, in the second half, Ollie Watkins was just picking up balls in defensive midfield and running with them, almost like, remember what Jack Grealish would do sometimes last season, like pick it up and it's like, Ollie, you're the striker. Yeah. You're the centre forward. Danny Ings was doing it as well. I don't know if that was by design or how the game kind of fell out, but the fact they both did it seems that it might have been just how their roles turned out. So Danny Ings he's clearly got the quality. He's done it before. You see glimpses of it. He wasn't awful yesterday, was it? It's just, it doesn't really work out. It's only going to work out if he's given that role and goes for it for a run he gets a run of games, essentially. But is that at the cost of Ollie Watkins, who's in a bit of form and can do the job up front? So it's a hard question. It's one probably was Dean Smith's undoing. How do you fit all these players in? And Gerrard probably doesn't have that, but that there is obviously going to be a pressure to play Danny Ings because of the money spent on him and his name. The quality of the player. So, look, I have full faith that he can get it done, but it's probably at the cost of Ollie Watkins in the short term, because he was doing the job all right, wasn't he?
You can say exactly the same things about Emi Buendia.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, then you get your Leon Bailey back, and then Bertrand Traore goes away for the Cup of Nations. So it's about giving them a run of games and seeing what your best lineup is, and making sure that the players who don't fit in, you can either embed them over time. But I just feel like it's a really difficult conversation, the Ings and Watkins one. because Buendia kind of has that role, and he can go into the midfield, and he can go on. He can play wherever you really want him to. Like, I know Football Manager, as soon as you put him right wing back if you want. But the main thing is that striker position. It's just there's question marks over it because you start Ollie Watkins now. He's probably not as rusty as Danny Ings, but God forbid, if there's an injury, Danny Ings comes in and he's not ready to go. He's not warm. He's coming out from the cold a bit. So I think if Steven Gerrard trusts in it, he likes what he saw yesterday and wants to get more or not likes what he saw, but he wants to get more from it. He'll have to go with it.
Another one, midfield option. Morgan Sanson, his first start since April, I think I saw it was somewhere. That's a classy footballer in there, isn't there, I think?
Yeah, again, it's someone who needs time, and I think coming in fairly from the cold, he had played a bit, didn't he? He had come on a few times. Yeah. But first starting a long time, almost, just under a year, really, isn't it? May as well be. Much. So, I thought he was good. He popped up everywhere. He was popping up on the right flank. I was like, is that Matty Cash? No, it's not Matty Cash. It's Sanson. So, yeah, I thought, Morgan Sanson is almost someone like, is he fitting in here? Is he the right man? Is he the right midfielder for the job? There's someone there that Villa can work with. It's like almost like an Nakamba question, isn't it? You're like, I'm not sure. Then Gerrard comes in. It's like everyone's brilliant in midfield. Yeah. So, Ramsey as well, like how far he's come on, and John McGinn, the quality shining through, and Douglas Luiz, brilliant. I thought there was a tackle he made in the first half, like really early on. I thought that, he's class, like some of the passing, and he probably faded, but the whole team did, so that's not on him. But the whole midfield, mate, I was pretty impressed with where Sanson was popping up all the time, like everywhere. Like the energy was probably just you do lack McGinn for the constant just rapid energy, but Sanson was up there, and it was really nice to see him kind of have a good game, actually.
I think you can say exactly the same things about Ramsey. He popped up on that kind of left-hand side, and you thought, oh, gosh, what's Ramsey doing back there? And then he'll ping a couple of short passes around a defender and play out defence. And what a player at such a young age. I thought all the midfielders were really good yesterday. Obviously you do miss John McGinn, but not as drastically as we would have missed him 6 months ago when we were thinking, Christ, no McGinn, absolutely no chance in midfield then. I thought those two were all really good. Final one, because we are running out of time. Matt Targett is the other standout performer I wanted to talk about, not because he's had this brilliant, amazing game, but out of the defenders, Cash has given away the penalty, Conte has given away the other. Mings and Conte have both had the pants down by Lukaku, basically, and Targett's put the ball in for the goal. But he did play well, though. Again, I thought it was one of Targett's better games in recent memory as well.
Yeah, I think he suffered at the start of the season. I think maybe...
He was injured, wasn't he, I think?
Yeah, dropped injured. Fans coming back. The Watford game really rattled him for whatever reason. But to grow back into kind of the Matt Targett we know and the Matt Targett we love, it's needed. Without a question, fullback has been a question mark for Villa. Kane Kessler-Hayden comes back next year. He probably gets loaned out to a Championship club to build on what he's doing at Swindon. But the names of like Aaron Hickey has been mentioned in the papers. Ashley Young's there. Like there's competition, and there will be coming competition. So it's about time to see kind of Matt Targett grow back into that role, because he was exemplary last season. And we hadn't really seen much of that. It was Matty Cash kind of stealing the headlines. So yeah, good to see him do a bit of Matty Targett we know and love.
The one final thing I wanted to mention, just as a bit of a nonsense point at the end, because it's absolutely meaningless now. Martinez's penalty antics for the first one in particular. I don't remember him doing much for the second. Going up to whoever the taker was, and kind of, I think he shook his hand, which I thought, that's strange. He put a divot in the penalty spot with his boot. Kind of just kicked the hole in the boot. Got a yellow card for it. I kind of thought, hopefully he doesn't do anything stupid to get a second yellow light in the game of time wasting or something silly like that. But again, just enough to hopefully try and put off Jorginho and just again get in his head a little bit. Again, he wasn't miles away from the penalties. I think he went the right way in both of them, I think. And again, just a slicer look for Villa, and he saves those penalties. But that's again, ifs, buts, and maybes.
Yeah, the difference between Villa and Chelsea and Villa and Liverpool has been 3 penalties. At the end of the day. And you can moan about how we didn't show up in that second half a lot, but the proof is there. They probably scored another way. Don't get me wrong, but if the penalties weren't there, but the truth is it was three penalties that separated us from 2 of the teams competing for the title this season. So can't moan about that. But on Martinez, elite penalty disruptor. But when he comes up against a Mo Salah or Jorginho, who's an elite penalty taker, you see the time taken. They're able to get past the mind games. You see the breathing. They're totally in control of the situation, and it's like a duel, isn't it? Martinez doesn't have the upper hand like he usually does. Probably a bit silly kicking the diver. That was probably some of his weaker efforts. It's funny, but probably need to do more of the. I don't know if you can get away with the Yeremina stuff in the Premier League. You can't be calling
not.
but more of the Fernandes stuff, more of the disruption. He's good at it. It's his game. It's his bread and butter. But when he's not going to come up against Jorginho and Salah every week, is he?
Yeah, exactly. What we've seen from Villa in recent weeks is that football's not played on paper, but I think Villa will beat a lot of the teams you expect them to beat in the lower half of the Premier League and give a really good game to the guys at the top of the league as well and not kind of hide away. And that's about as best you can ask for if you're a mid-table club pushing for European football one day. Beat Burnley, which obviously was called off, but I felt like we'd have done well in that game. Beat a struggling Leeds side, again that's called off. Beat Brentford on New Year's Day or the 2nd of January, I think it is. But you lose that Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea game in between them, and you kind of go, well, that's to be expected. But as long as you win the games, like I said, that's about as far as you can hope for.
Yeah, I mean, if you say our poorest game in the Gerrard era so far has been without John McGinn and without Steven Gerrard and against Chelsea, and the difference was 2 penalties, I mean, I take that.
Yeah, you can't say, what else can you expect?
Yeah, but one thing is, it was a disappointment that we couldn't beat the Villa we saw against Liverpool or the Villa we saw against Man City. Obviously, there's reasons for it, but I think, we've probably gotten used to those entertaining losses. So to have a fairly drab loss was probably.
Just move on to the next one. Take the positives from the first half and go and beat Brentford. That's all you can ask for, really. We are going to have to call it a day there. Sorry, James. I know there's still things we could have talked about, but I've literally got my booster jab in 6 minutes, and the doctor's is close, but probably not 6 minutes close. I need to go. Thank you very much for everyone who's watched this quick podcast. Though it is 24 minutes we recorded for, so it's about as long as usual anyway. If you want to catch up with any more Claret and Blue content, we did a Christmas quiz just before Christmas, but it's still relevant to go back and watch now if you want a bit of half an hour to kill some time and answer some Villa questions and try and beat our scores. Football Manager streams, again, I don't really know what's happening. I've had a few questions about that. We might do one before the new year with the Leeds game being called off, but like I said at the start, I am still technically off work, so absolutely no promises that there will be anything now until Brentford, but you never know. James, thank you very much for your time. Hope you have a happy new year.
Wicked, and you and everyone watching, thank you for following and up the Villa.
Yeah, thanks so much. We'll catch you soon.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.